Puss in Boots. Long ago, in a charming little village by a gentle river, lived a miller who had 3 sons. When the miller grew old, he divided his belongings among his children. The eldest received the mill, the middle son got a donkey, and the youngest, whose name was Jack, inherited a little cat. Jack sighed softly, thinking he had gotten the least valuable gift. "What will I do with a cat?" he wondered aloud. Just then, the little cat, who had silky fur and bright green eyes, rubbed gently against his legs. To Jack's surprise, the cat began to speak in a soft, cheerful voice. "Don't worry, Jack," said the cat. "Give me a pair of boots, a small bag, and a hat, and I promise you will never be poor again." Jack was amazed. A talking cat? Well, why not? He thought, laughing gently. He found a pair of fine little boots, a handsome hat, and a sturdy bag for the cat. Now dressed smartly, the cat became known as Puss in Boots. With his boots clicking softly on the ground, he set out with a happy little purr. One sunny morning, Puss went out into the fields and cleverly caught some fresh rabbits. He placed them neatly in his bag and took them straight to the king's palace. Bowing gracefully before the king, Puss said, "Your Majesty, my master, the noble Marquis of Carabas sends these fine rabbits as a gift." The king, delighted by the charming cat and the thoughtful gift, thanked him warmly. "Please tell your master I am very pleased," he said kindly. Day after day, Puss continued to deliver gifts of fresh game, always saying they were from the Marquis of Carabas, a name he had made up for Jack. One afternoon, Puss learned the king and his daughter, a lovely princess, would travel along the riverside road. Quickly, he ran back to Jack and said, "Listen carefully. Follow my instructions exactly, and your life will change forever." Jack trusted his clever cat completely. Following Puss's instructions, Jack jumped into the river just as the royal carriage approached. Immediately, Puss ran into the road, waving his paws and calling out, "Help! Help! The Marquis of Carabas is drowning." The king ordered his servants to rescue Jack. He was given rich clothes and invited to join the royal carriage. The princess smiled sweetly at Jack, who blushed shyly, grateful for Puss's quick thinking. As the carriage moved forward, Puss hurried ahead. He met farmers working in the fields and said, "If anyone asks, please say this land belongs to the Marquis of Carabas." The farmers happily agreed, charmed by the polite and clever cat. Soon, the king's carriage passed the fields. The king asked, "Who owns this fine land?" "It belongs to the Marquis of Carabas," replied the farmers cheerfully, just as Puss had asked. The king was deeply impressed. "Your lands are very rich, Marquise," he said kindly. Meanwhile, Puss reached a great castle, home to a powerful but frightening ogre. The ogre was known to transform himself into any animal he wished. Puss knocked gently on the door and entered bravely. The ogre scowled at him, growling fiercely. But Puss bowed low and spoke softly. "I have heard you can change into any animal. Is this true?" The ogre grunted proudly. "Of course! Watch this." He transformed first into a roaring lion, then into a giant bear, making Puss tremble a bit, but not lose his courage. "Very impressive," said Puss, clapping his paws softly. "But can you also turn into something small, like a mouse?" The ogre laughed loudly. "That's easy." And in an instant, he became a tiny mouse scurrying across the floor. Quick as lightning, Puss sprang forward and caught the mouse. In a flash, the wicked ogre was gone, and the grand castle now belonged to the clever cat. Just then, the royal carriage arrived at the castle gates. Puss ran outside and bowed gracefully. "Welcome to the castle of the Marquis of Carabas," he announced politely. The king and princess, amazed by the beautiful castle, walked inside with Jack. They admired the grand halls, sparkling fountains, and lovely gardens filled with flowers. The king, impressed by Jack's kindness and the wonderful castle, asked softly, "Marquis, would you like to marry my daughter?" Jack blushed deeply, glancing at the princess who smiled warmly at him. "I would be honored," he answered gently. A joyful wedding was celebrated soon after. Jack and the princess lived happily together, ruling the land wisely and kindly. Jack never forgot how it all began. With a clever little cat who spoke softly and wore boots. Every evening, as the sun set gently over the kingdom, Jack and Puss would walk together through the gardens. Jack smiled down at his faithful friend. "Thank you, Puss," he whispered. "I would never have found happiness without you." Puss purred softly, nuzzling Jack's hand. "It was my pleasure. You trusted me, and that made all the difference." And so, each night under the stars, a gentle breeze carried their quiet laughter.